20. Dame even claims that Jay-Z was jealous of the fact that he was dating her, as they have been to realize how toxic this is for our society. The fact that Jay, at the grown age of 30 years old, went after an 18-year-old Beyonce lets you know what kind of girls he is really into. While some people are just going to look at this and say that bad because she was already 18, which is legal, and they're still married to this day, so they obviously loved each other. The problem is, Jay, who was a big star at the time on top of hip-hop, might have taken advantage of a young Beyonce who was up and coming and willing to do anything to make it. I myself wouldn't at all be surprised if Beyonce, who was only 18, got with a year-old Jay-Z because of the opportunities it would provide for her. I believe Jay took complete advantage of that, and Beyonce wasn't even his only victim. Foxy Brown was a successful female rap artist from the late 90s and early 2000s. She had signed a major record deal with Def Jam all the way back in 1996 when she was only 16 years old. The same label Jay-Z was the biggest artist on. Jay actually played a large role in Foxy being signed to Def Jam, as he had worked with her early on. Back then, Jay-Z was seen very close to the young Foxy, and the rumor was that Jay-Z was actually being intimate with Foxy back in 1994 when they first started making music together. Jay-Z recorded Ain't No with Foxy Brown back in 1994, even though the song wasn't released until 1996. In 1994, Foxy was no older than 15 years old. People believe at this point in time, Jay-Z, who was 25 years old at the time, was allegedly already hooking up with Foxy at that age. More confirmation of this was this article posted by TMZ, where they claim Foxy Brown stated Jay-Z hooked up with her when she was 14 and he was 24. She claims that he was her first time, and according to this TMZ article, she even claimed Jay-Z was into transitioned women. If you were to ask me, I think this is the truth. We already know Jay-Z is into younger girls, as he got with an 18-year-old Beyonce, so I wouldn't put it past him. I believe that Foxy, just like Beyonce, was taken advantage of by a superior in the music industry, Jay-Z. Jay would eventually sign Foxy Brown back to Def Jam after he took over in the mid-2000s. Over the years, many people have actually said Jay-Z was in a relationship with Foxy Brown back then, one being Nick Cannon, who during an interview with Dame Dash pressed him on the situation. Nick Cannon straight up brings up the fact that when he met Foxy Brown, she was 16 and was introduced to him as Jay's girl. This question made Dame Dash visibly uncomfortable.
At what age was Foxy Brown signed? I wasn't paying attention to Foxy Brown. But I didn't sign Foxy Brown. I'm just asking a question. I'm on the block. I'm responsible for everything. You the boss. Yo, don't beat around the bush. What you want? I'm just asking. What do you mean by that question? What are you insinuating? I'm not insinuating. I just asked a question. I thought Foxy was like 16. That's all I'm saying. It sounds like all I'm saying is in this industry when we live in this class. It seems like you got a question for Jay. Ask him. Y'all keep asking me questions. I want to ask him because he ain't here. Ask him. I ain't got to do with that, and I don't even know nothing about that. Playing. You my man. I know not with me. When you say that Foxy was 16 when she got signed, why did you say that just when I first was introduced to who Foxy was? I thought there was something between Foxy and Jay.
As you heard for yourself, Nick Cannon brings up Jay and Foxy Brown, and he starts panicking. Dame instantly starts getting defensive, which reveals he knows something wrong happened between the two. Nick Cannon then tells Dame that he was introduced to Foxy when she was 16 as Jay's girl. Dame tells Nick to ask Jay about that and not him. This obviously reveals Dame knows Jay was with Foxy since young. He knows Jay's dark secret. Foxy allegedly
Colorado game,
and then she gets signed to the same label as him. You tell me if that's a coincidence. Speaking about Dame Dash, he was actually in a relationship with the young Aaliyah before she passed. Aaliyah was 21 and Dash 29 when they started dating, which was not as bad as Jay-Z with Beyonce. However, Jay-Z actually briefly dated Aaliyah when she was 19 or 20. Dame even claims that Jay-Z was jealous of the fact that he was dating her as they have been together first. It's obvious Jay-Z has a thing for women who are barely 18 or older. What's interesting about all of this is that we know Jay-Z actually made a whole joint album and went on tour with R. Kelly, another star who was known for his interest in young girls. Back then, the two had worked on 2 projects together and went on tour before they broke up. Nas, a former rival of Jay-Z, actually came out some time ago and stated that he knew of Jay-Z participating in the same activities as R. Kelly, claiming that he was messing with those 16-year-olds at the studio with Kelly. What's interesting is that Aaliyah, who was first with Kelly, ended up with Jay-Z. We are obviously seeing a pattern here. Jay, who was a veteran in the industry, was going after these young upcoming stars before they were even of age. The fact that Jay had this friendship with Kelly while he was actively around these young girls speaks for itself to me. Anyone who is willing to condone this around them and not stop it are just as guilty as the one doing it. I am seeing a pattern when it comes to Jay-Z, especially when we talk about his long forgotten son he had with a 16-year-old girl when he was 22 years old. According to this New York Post article, a man by the name of Rimmer Satterwhite claims to be the abandoned and forgotten son of rapper Jay-Z. According to Rimmer, his mother Wanda hooked up with Jay-Z when she was only 16 years old and Jay was 22. He claims that he is the product of that brief relationship. The woman claims she met Jay-Z through a friend back in the day and that she was introduced to him as Rock. Whether this is true or not, I don't know as of now, but knowing Jay has an interest in younger women, I wouldn't put this past him. Another alleged victim of Jay-Z is no other than Rihanna. The way that Rihanna got discovered and signed to me always left me with many questions. Rihanna was a teenager in Barbados with no connections when she somehow managed to get in a hotel room with Evan Rogers, a music producer who just so happened to be vacationing in Barbados. Rogers would invite Rihanna and her friend to perform a song for him in the hotel room alone, where he decided that he was only interested in the teenage Rihanna and would meet with her mother the very next day. Rihanna would end up signing a production deal with Rogers' production company, Syndicated Rhythm, and then they put out a demo. Two A&Rs working at Def Jam heard the demo and quickly showed it to no other than Jay-Z himself. Rihanna was then flown to New York City, where she would meet with Jay-Z and the rest of Def Jam Records.
Hi, Jason.
Told Jay-Z not to let Rihanna leave the building without making her sign the dotted line. Rihanna would sign her first major record deal at exactly 3 a.m., and it just so happened to be a 6-album deal. The first obvious thing that stuck out to me was the occult reference to Rihanna being signed at exactly 3 a.m. for a 6-album deal. But what stuck out to me even more was the fact that she was only 16 years old in 2005 when she signed. What makes this even more disturbing is that it was again rumored that Jay-Z had hooked up with Rihanna in 2005, around the time he signed her when she was 16 or 17. Jay-Z was already 36 at the time, and apparently this led Beyonce to hate Rihanna, and this is the reason Beyonce and Rihanna don't have a song together to this day. It's even believed that the song Bow Down by Beyonce was created as a diss to Rihanna. I honestly believe this happened, as it was actually basically known in the industry. Just think about it. Rihanna, who was on Jay-Z's label, never did a song with his wife, two of the biggest pop stars in the world. You know exactly why. Because Jay-Z took advantage of his gatekeeper privilege. He knows new girls coming in the industry would do anything to make it to the top. Rihanna allegedly hooks up with Jay-Z, and she is now a billionaire. Looking at all these relationships, we see a pattern. Jay-Z was much older than all these women.
I never reward bad behavior. Yeah, he got him a touchdown out the deal, but man, he got some catches, but he looked like an amateur out there. Like he looked like he was playing pee-wee ball, and it looked like they was targeting him. It looked like they saw something that we didn't see. Like they were saying, "We coming for you, boy. We gonna expose you." Remember, just yesterday, Dan was calling him the best player in college football. Maybe on offense, he might have an argument on offense, but that defense was sus. Man, Black James, absolutely, it's a learning experience. It's an embarrassing learning experience. What's up, Sonic Boom? David Chambliss.
Yo, Willie D shouted me out.
Trey Brown.
Y'all heard that?
If you're just not not joining the live, fam, we are having a
Willie D shot your boy out.
Stanford game on yesterday where Colorado lost in double.
Use Kayak's filters to search only the flights you actually want.
And you get 29-point lead in football, game over. Every single game this year. So you ain't got to go through the stuff that I went through. Some parents got that mentality like, well, we didn't have a father. That is a selfish. I don't understand people when they say stuff. How big of a fool would I, man, like find a little moment in between cutting that grass where you have a little fun. Maybe you douse your coat to make sure that the defense is ready, the offense loaded with talent. Naturally ain't gonna get it. Phil, let me tell you something. You might score, but you ain't finna score on me. This overhand right is out of sight. This outworks me. Oh, I'm sure they're out there, but it's gonna be hard to find. Travis Hunter got cooked. Yes, CJ, he got cooked. Yeah, he got him a touchdown out the deal, but man, he got some catches, but he looked like an amateur out there. Like he looked like he was playing pee-wee ball, and it looked like they was targeting him. It looked like they saw something that we didn't see. Like they were saying, "We coming for you, boy. We gonna expose you." Remember, just yesterday, Dion was calling him the best player in college football. Shit. Maybe on offense, you might have an argument on offense, but that defense was sus. Man, Black James, absolutely, it's a learning experience. It's an embarrassing learning experience. What's up, Sonic Boom? David Chambliss. Trey Brown. What up, Trey? If you're just not joining the live, fam, we are having a discussion about the Stanford game on yesterday where Colorado lost in double overtime, 43-46.
Well, thank you for joining me for this Truth Talk episode.
Worthy. That's the title of a new book. We'll talk about that title a little bit later. Worthy. It's coming out October 17th. And of course, in it, she's dropping a few bombshells, of course. Former Red Table Talk host reveals that she and Will Smith have been living completely separate lives since 2016. That's over 7 years ago. And at this moment, the two of them are still legally married, but are no longer romantically together and haven't been for a very, very long time. On a relationship's demise, she says, wide fractured, that's a lot of things. By the time we got to 2016, we were just exhausted with trying. I think we were both kind of just still stuck in our fantasy of what we thought the other person should be. But they didn't get divorced because she said, I made a promise that there would never be a reason for us to get a divorce when they first got married. You know, they've been married since 1997. She said we will work through whatever. I just haven't been able to break that promise. Of course, knowing that her husband slapped the living shit out of Chris Rock on national television, global television, because the Oscars were watched everywhere, she had to bring up Chris Rock, of course. And instead, did we hear an apology? Did we hear anything? No, we haven't heard that. What we heard was that she originally thought Will slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars was a skit that wasn't real. She didn't know it was real when she saw Chris Rock's face do damn near 180. When she saw... on his left jaw. She thought it was a skit. When she heard that loud ass slap and the audience be aghast. Oh, no. She thought it was a skit. I was like, there's no way that Will hit him. It wasn't until Will started to walk back to his chair that I even realized it wasn't a skit. And of course, last but not least, she had to drop dime, as they say, on Chris Rock, claiming he asked her out for a date. He asked her out on a date, explaining, I think every summer all the reports would come out that me and Will were getting a divorce. This particular summer, Chris, he thought that we were getting a divorce. So he called me and basically he was like, I'd love to take you out. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, aren't you and Will getting a divorce? I was like, no, Chris, those are just rumors. He was appalled and he profusely apologized, and that was that. I'm qualified to have this conversation. I did write a memoir, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, New York Times bestseller. By the way, once you're a New York Times bestseller, you are one forever. That is the creme de la creme of being an author. And I am a New York Times bestseller, so I kind of understand. But that's not the subject that I'm at right now. You see, I have to confess to you that being a Christian, loving God, certainly not fully enmeshed in spirituality the way that I should be. I'm a spiritual individual. I pray every morning. I pray every night. I know there's a higher being, that there's a heavenly Father watching over me. But let's just say I'm trying to get to where he wants me to go. I'm just not there yet. But when it comes to forgiveness, I'm usually that dude. People cross me, don't even have to apologize. They just can come up to me and say, hey, man, can we just squash this? Let bygones be bygones. I'm good, man. Peace is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Ain't no reason to have all this animosity towards everybody and all this other stuff. Really no need for it. But I'm going to say this. It's pretty hard for me to forgive Will Smith. It's not my place. My forgiveness doesn't matter, as does most of ours. Here's what I mean. And if Will Smith is listening, I hope he hears me when I say this.
that you well. And did you ever make it out of that town? Nothing ever happened. It's no secret that the both of us are running out of time. Say hello from the other side. I must have tried 1,000 times. Tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart when I call you. Never seem to be home. Hello from the other side. At least I can say that I tried to tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart. Ain't no better, it clearly doesn't tear you apart anymore.
Hell yeah, sweet thing.
Anymore.
I see you on the mill.
Anymore.
Say, yeah, how y'all feel?
Anymore.
Aye. Oh, it's all it's sunshine. Trinity, honey. Trinity, honey. I see you stand up, honey. Yeah, it's my pretty Southside. Hey, uptown, say what? The pretty mommies, the pretty money. Now where they at? I see you, girl, huh? Yeah, hey, look, hold us all. Grind season. What it do? Southwest. Switch that. Hey, up all night, Hey, sweet thing. Say what? Right.
Hello from the other side. I must have tried 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart when I called you. Never seem to be home. Hello from the other side. At least I can say that I tried. Tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart. It's no better, it clearly doesn't tear you apart anymore.
Southwest.
Anymore.
35 double low, honey.
Anymore.
640. Hold us all. Walk a mill. Let's ride. The dirty side. Yeah. Hey. Hold us all. Pretty money. Pretty money. Seven teller honeys. Hey. Hold us all. Stand up, honey. Stand up, mommy.